Okay, and then we go to the yeah, okay.
Oh, let me do this too.
Hi, and welcome to RUXMO. That's the Randstad UX Monthly Online, a new event that will be happening every second Tuesday of the month. And to inaugurate our first event, we have Jeroen Jonkers, and he'll be discussing IoT and the connected experience design. Hi, Jeroen. It's great having you here on the show today. And yeah, take it away.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation to talk about something that's very dear to me, which is Internet of Things and what I like to call connected experience design. I've prepared a presentation that I love to run through, and if there's any questions coming in or from your side, please do not hesitate,
All right. Thank you.
um, because it's always good when it's a conversation. Let me share the screen, entire screen. So in essence, this is the story about me discovering the realm of Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, to give an introduction to me, my name is Jeroen. I am registered as a freelancer. I'm hiring myself out as Meneer Jonkers, where I help teams and people to build things. And as a second, I have a small company that is working and collaborating with multiple organizations to make bigger projects happen. Always super excited to talk about those things too. But for this moment, it is about the first time that I met Internet of Things. And I'm gonna make my screen big. And I'm now losing sight of you, Candice. That's a bit of a
Oh,
pity.
if you go to the, I think you go to the buttons here, and then you say change layout, and then
Yeah,
you
no,
can,
no, but the other one, this one is making a mess.
oh, I
So
can't
I
see you.
think
I
you're
can only
still
see
seeing my,
myself. I
you're
see your
still seeing my screen,
presentation.
right?
I see your screen, and I see myself. Let me just change my layout as well. Sidebar might do. There we go. I see both of us, and I see your presentation.
Yeah, perfect. So if you see everything that you need to see, then I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah, it looks good
Because
this
I have the
side.
presentation view in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first time that I heard about Internet of Things was in a pitch for the Shanghai Natural History Museum. I was there with a team of Northern Light, a design company that designs the interior of experience centers and science and technology museums. So within, and I went back because I remember that this was the first time that I saw it. I went back to that to the PISIC and I found it. And they stated, for example, different kinds of laboratory, second of public, could use the technology of internet and Internet of Things technology to get the stories behind the specimen. These were words translated from the Chinese pitch deck. And the question that they were asking was, okay, we have these amazing exhibitions and we want you as the designers to use Internet of Things technologies. And at that moment, I didn't know what it was. So I dove into this and I tried to figure out what was there. And I got a little bit of it, that you had these connections and that you could activate something on a distance. With that team of Northern Light, we designed a museum. We won I believe, the first prize in the first round and the third prize in the second round. We had an enormously long conversation about this proposal that we made for an experience that was a handheld enabled experience. So our idea was you have a sort of a device like mobile phone.
Mhm.
Remember, this was 2010, so the iPhones were not
Wow.
everywhere. You had a device like a mobile phone, and you would be able to go through the museum. Uh, Before the visit, you would be able to plan it, what you can see over here. And after the visit, you will be able to sort of to go back into your collection and see everything that you've scanned during your visit.
Mhm.
Also, so that all these materials that you found would be sort of transferable to other people, like your parents or in the class, so that you could continue the learning. Um, Something that it didn't. I'm pretty sure that they've made something that incorporates these ideas because it was a learning experience for everyone involved. Um, but the main question that I was left with was, what is the Internet of Things?
Mhm.
And the only answer that I've found reasonable enough to share is that the Internet of Things is kind of like the internet.
Yeah.
And if you think about internet, and here's some Dutch examples, you have an energy company's interface and sales channels. You have party flock where you can see where all the parties are. You have a news website, but you can also go there to visit your tracking data from your smart device. That's all on the internet, and these days we accept that that's the internet. Nobody sort of questions the answer. What
Mhm.
is the internet?
Yeah.
Maybe some people in the very depth of the technology will go very much against it because there are far better explanations of what the internet is. But for the user, the internet is all of these things,
Yeah.
which means that the Internet of Things is kind of the same. It could also be everything.
Mhm.
And that was my very first conclusion about, okay, what is the Internet of Things? So the things can be on the internet. The things can start talking. So everything around us, when we can add sensors to it and when we can add connectivity to it, so that those sensors can be read out, um, things can start to talk. And what would they say? So with this in mind, I've been on a journey ever since, trying to find sort of that connected experience, the things that, yeah, that tell their stories, the gate that is open or closed, or the parking spot that is filled or empty.
Yeah.
Um, and what I've found is that better question, instead of asking what is the Internet of Things, is what is a thing on the internet, and then you can dive into what one of those things exists of. So everything on the internet exists out of the following components, or you can recognize those components, and I will explain them in a little bit more detail later. So you have a device, which is a thing, the source or the activator that, yeah, the vacuum cleaner or the tabletop. That tabletop or vacuum cleaner has a little bit of connectivity, a module, and with some sensors where data can go in and out. The data goes in and out via connectivity, and that enters into a backend or an intelligence, which does something with that data. And then on top of it, there's a service and interaction layer that reaches us as end consumers.
Mhm.
Um, the first projects that I started to recognize that in was in Beijing. I was working for Lenovo, and they've asked me to prepare a demo for a smart shoe. And this smart shoe, but what would you do with a smart shoe? Was a collaboration between Vibram, and Vibram are the guys that make the soles of shoes,
Mhm.
and they had this magnificent, yeah, simple solution of putting some LED wires in a shoe, connecting it to an app with some Bluetooth. The shoes were also able to vibrate,
Mhm.
and there was colored lights. And the question was, okay, what could we do with it? And this app was super rudimentary, so you could sort of push the buttons and you can see the effects, but it was not more. Now, if we place this on that same model that I just showed and try to understand, okay, how is this a thing on the internet, or how is this a connected experience? So you have a thing, the data source and the activator, which is a shoe that gives light and vibrates. There's this connectivity module, which is in this case a Bluetooth connectivity module that sends the data via its network to a mobile phone, and in the mobile phone there's some intelligence that makes the shoe vibrate and communicate with the user. And the service and interaction layer of the shoe is it can vibrate, it can give color, and you can read messages on your phone. So this product was introduced at the Beijing Design Week. My quest at that moment was to create an exhibition that showed these shoes to the bigger public, and at the same time prepare a sort of a branding exercise for Vibram, who were introducing their 5 feet shoes, the toe shoes. So we had this little exhibition, and in that exhibition there was this one spot where we were asking people, what can you do with a smart shoe? What is smart moving to you? And we engaged with all the people that went through the exhibition, and we asked them, hey, could you please write down what you thought and what you would do with a smart shoe? And the fantastic thing was that even though you can imagine yourself a lot of things, the stuff that comes out of these user interactions of exploring a concept, was something completely different from what I was expecting. I'm not sure if it starts playing or if you will be able to hear it. This is a daily event happening in China. Shanghai is bigger in it, I've heard, than other cities. But people are dancing at the end of the day as a sort of an exercise movement or social gathering. And they come together and they do some dances. This would be fantastically sort of lit up if people were wearing smart shoes, which would help them with the dance. Because it was one of the issues that was addressed. People don't know how to dance.
The sound just started, but then
Yeah,
it stopped again.
I had to push again. So one of the things that you might note is that the connectivity in this device is connectivity that brought the data to the device where the device was the intelligence. If you would combine this connectivity and you would send it to the cloud, then you would be able to interact on a maximized scale with all the data. And this is something that I entered in after I was returning to the Netherlands, because I found out a lot of things about connectivity when, with the team of IoT at T-Mobile in the Netherlands, we introduced narrowband IoT as the first nation covering network for low power wide area networks, which is a heap of words that is very, very technical. But this is a network connectivity that allows devices to send very small pieces of data over long distances without using too much energy. And this would give a lot of different advantages to all those devices that could be invented if we would have the possibility to send the data. To explain this in a little bit more detail, if you have Wi-Fi or your home network, you have a lot of bandwidth, a lot of hertz, the hertz that allows you to send a lot of data over a short distance. Same with cellular. If you have 2G, 3G, or 4G, you can send a lot of data over short distances. But it costs a lot of energy because your phone is dead at the end of the day. And if you have a sensor somewhere in a tree or in a parking spot, you don't want to charge it every day.
Mm.
So then we got low power wide area networks, where narrowband IoT is the one that we introduced back in 2017. And this allows you to send a package of, I believe it's 125 kilobits over a distance of 15 kilometers, and to a depth of 3 or 4 meters below the ground. So you will also have reach in the basement.
Mm.
With this team that I'm still involved with, we introduced IoT to the Netherlands, but we also went to Europe. It's now a European team called IoT Creators, and we're going strong, connecting, I believe it's about 20 or 30,000 devices of young entrepreneurs that are building the new future of IoT.
Mm.
Within this adventure, I've met all these people that were inventing the new products, new Internet of Things products. And what you see at the side over here is the Gartner hype cycle for the Internet of Things back in 2016. And everybody was expecting that the Internet of Things would be filled with devices in no time. But what they forgot, or that's sort of my conclusion of this story, is that devices need design. We cannot work anymore with just a pump. It needs to have all these interface layers and connections between different disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the sort of the stagnation of growth, and that's something that is slowly evolving because the producers of products, they really go into different industries and solve fantastic problems. Some examples of that is the story of the 3 water meters, and then you also start to see how varied the Internet of Things can be, and how you can design or start to design for the Internet of Things. So the first time that I heard about the smart water meter, there was a team of people coming over to T-Mobile, and these guys, they had a quite straightforward client, a water company, and the water company wanted to put the smart water meters in front of the house so that they could track the amount of water used, plan their whole logistics that needed to be planned, and make sure that the billing was accurate. Even more, give the consumer the power to control the water usage and also get insights in their personal use.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic solution. They came over to show the product. The tests were amazing. And I think a few months later, somebody else came over and said, "Yeah, we're building a smart water meter." So I asked them, "Hey, probably you're going to do that for a water company. I heard that before." And they were like, no, we're doing this for the elder care. I was a bit surprised to hear that. What these guys figured out is that if you put a smart water meter in front of an elderly care house, so where people live that need care, you can measure the water usage and sort of check if people are still okay. Because if somebody goes to the toilet on a regular basis, uses the shower on the regular times, you know that everything is okay. And if somebody stops showering, or if somebody goes to the toilet too many times after each other, you know, hey, there might be something up, and you can send somebody to help the people. Where you use exactly the same data to solve a different user issue.
Yeah.
And that brought a third smart water meter, and this was a smart fluid meter. This, what you see here, is something that's next to a farm. And in the old days, once a year, Shell or one of the other oil companies came over and filled the tank with diesel. The farmer paid the diesel, and that was the deal made. This is a huge cash flow problem for the farmer because they have to pay for all the gas at once.
Mhm.
So what the smart people did was to put a smart water meter in, whereby the people could use it, and when they were using it, it was told sent the data to the oil companies. They bill the farmer for what they use instead of for the full amount at once, spreading out this whole cash flow issue over all the month of the year. Yeah, and creating a far more economical, advantageous situation for the farmers. Here you have, in my explanation, three examples of connected experience design, where you have the same device, but by using the data and designing different interfaces for the end users, you have totally different experiences for the usage of those smart devices. This is what I've sort of then started to chase these type of projects. One of them was for Heineken and T-Systems and TWTG, who asked me, together with a team of designers and developers, to think along for a smart beer tap, a home drafting system that would allow consumers and small entrepreneurs in bars to have a 5 or 4 liter keg of beer. And they connected this device. They made it so that the data was sent to a central system. And in that central system, you would be able to do stuff with the data. And the question that came to us as a design team was, okay, what could we do with the data? What is the experience that adds value to the users? And in this workshop experience, we started to do workshops with all the different stakeholders within the project, trying to figure out, okay, if we have these different data points, what would sales and marketing be able to do with those points? What would customer service be able to do with those points? What would a owner of one of those devices be able to do with those data? And how can we present that in the different interfaces that we now get to design to the users? Another one that we used was instead of doing the user mapping and just seeing, okay, what are the different touch points or activities and who are the stakeholders, we also started to combine that with the available data and the data needs. So if you are on your journey, what kind of data do I have available? If I have a device that breaks down halfway, what kind of data do I have available at that very moment that could help the user? And by filling all these quite familiar sort of exercises and adding data to that mix, we found out you can enrich your design and process a lot. In the end, we got to make a demo that was used for a trade show where we went through, I think, 3 user journeys for stakeholders, for the consumer, for the bar owner, and for the marketing team at the side of Heineken, how they would be able to use that data. Another one which sort of incorporates this sense of you have data that needs to reach a user, and that data can come from all these different sites, was in a project for the ANBW, which is a German energy company. The question asked was, okay, could you please help us out to improve our interfaces? How do we operate in this world where we have all these information about the client, about the situation at their home, about the solar panels that are possibly installed, could be installed, would be installed pretty soon. And the question that was asked, okay, please help us to improve those that environment. And within this environment, I sort of had this let's say epiphany that all this data that comes from all these different systems needs to be structured on the screen. And not only now, but also in the future, we will get all these new problems that need to be solved by our agents.
Mhm.
And one of the stories that I told and that I like to tell over here as well is the situation where you have an energy company that makes a deal together with a housing organization about smart devices that can be installed in the house, like a smart dryer, a smart cooler, the smart air conditioning systems, a fridge. We all are familiar with the stories that those devices talk to each other and then balance the energy out. But to get this system ready, you need a standardization that can only come from parties like the NPDV or Yellowstone that make these super big deals. But the situation that you get then is that when one of those devices break, you are not going to call the service center of Samsung. You're going to call the service center of the company that sold it to you, where that's Yellowstone
Mhm.
or the EMBW. And with this situation, then you're talking about a Chinese produced air conditioning system that needs to be serviced by somebody on the phone in Germany that has a screen in front of him that gives that shows the data of the device, because this is all possible. So
Mhm.
how would you be able to create environments in those situations where everything is connected and where everybody can start to use the data for their advantage? Um, This is a problem that was not solved at that moment because we were far in a different sort of stadium of the design of their interfaces. But thinking about these type of situations where you have information coming from all these different sites that needs to be handled by people that are using the products, is something that keeps fascinating me. Um, Yeah, as a very last one in the connected experience design showcase, I would like to introduce the Anabox, which is a product that I met at a trade show for Internet of Things. This is the first smart pillbox for elderly people connected with narrowband IoT.
Mhm.
And the beauty of this is that it really uses the advantages of the connectivity for the end user's advantage. Um, if this pillbox would be connected via Bluetooth or via Wi-Fi, it would always need to have a router around. It needs to connect to your home network or it needs to connect to your phone. And then your phone makes sure that the data is sent to the central cloud. The inventors of this product incorporated narrowband IoT, and by using that, they have an amazing product that can, um, I think, yeah, that can indicate to the users, to the doctors, and to all the caretakers involved which medicine have been taken or which medicine should be taken. Uh, yeah, without further hassle.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, the same. This is a different example for smart solutions of the camera, but comes down to the same system. If you remove the wired data connection, you have these old-time systems, and if you make that into a wireless system, there are so many different advantages to create, and even more with edge computing, which is now starting up on or starting up, which is super far, which can help us to analyze pictures on location without having to send all the data to a central system, making it possible to send very small amounts of data to conclude if a car has been registered, instead of sending a picture of the whole car over a small data connection.
Mm.
Yeah, we can start building IoT and designing with IoT. What I hope is that within the UX design community we sort of get a consciousness of all the things that are becoming possible, and within the industries where all these devices are invented, I hope that we get a chance as designers to to add users to the mix,
Mm-hmm.
create connected experiences.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeroen. That was very insightful. And well, I'm glad that you used so many positive examples because I must admit I'm one of those people who, having seen a darker side of humanity, I'm always more like aware of how those sort of the challenges or the threats in it. But having seen like these examples really puts it into perspective that, you know, it's really a tool that you can harness in service of humanity instead
Yeah.
of an exploitation to humanity. So that's very interesting.
We can add so much needed value with
Hmm.
all the technological advantages that we're still gonna make.
Hmm.
And if we do it smart, we don't make the world more efficient, but we make it a better place.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you know nobody really wants to think that far ahead in the future, but our generations are really part of the vergrijzing. I don't know what that is in English, but like the age at which we're getting older and compared to the births and
Mhm.
our generations, yeah, we will not have as many people to care for us as previous generations. So I think it's really, at a point of our lives that we really need to see how we can, yeah, systemize our existence in the
Hmm.
sense that, like with those pull openers, just yeah, you don't have to worry.
I had an intriguing conversation over the weekend about the care systems and how stuff is now used. Um, in also care situations, people need to check if somebody used a diaper.
Hmm.
And at this moment, the only way to do that is to look. And that means that somebody has to actively do that, which is a horrible situation for either ends of that
Yeah,
process. Could you
definitely.
not do that smarter? Could you
Yeah.
not build in a small sensor that shows, hey, there's something, there's heat, we need to have cleaning. The risk that you get is that you divide your time in a way that yeah takes time away from what's needed, and that's human connection.
Mm, pretty cool. I especially resonate with it because, yeah, I used to take care of my ex-husband's grandmother, and we had to really be very precise with her medication, and yeah, having that automation, it's so simple, but the amount of times that you stress over, dosage and, has the medication been taken, it's really
Mhm.
a big relief. So,
And
yeah.
one of the things that I saw up close was the need for tracking how much fluid somebody drank,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is a hell of a job for somebody that's able to walk to the tap and just get some water. So could you not get away from those administrative tasks
Hmm.
and make life easier? Yes, there's many ways. Needless to say, there is a very dark side also possible.
Hmm.
But yeah, like with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and do you have any idea of what the market is like? Like, are there many new inventions? Are there like, new technologies hitting the market and how often? And yeah.
There are so within this industry, you see that it took about 2 3 years when the standards were created for narrowband IoT, for the industry to be able to adopt it. Then after 2 3 years, you start seeing companies to try it out because it's not too. difficult to think about the advantages that it could bring. But then to create an IoT thing and to implement it, it's hard. And it's particularly hard because it brings together so many different fields of play. You need to have hardware developers, you need to have engineers, you need to have designers, you need to have process optimization, SAP guys to make sure that the data gets into the system, making a small plan of we're connecting the parking spots, makes that into a huge, impactful and expensive and endeavors.
Mhm.
What you see now is that there's a couple of solutions in the length. So they really have the container tracking and they specialize on container tracking in a multitude of different ways. I've seen printed batteries for packaging that enable your smart package to arrive on location with all the data about temperature and everything, just ready, uh, yeah, at a
Yeah.
click, in essence.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a couple of companies that really go in the width of the market, so they're really trying to become a platform that everybody needs to use to get a thing on the internet.
So an Internet of Things internet.
It's still developing. I think that in 5 years we see a market that begins to that will start to become grown. But at this
Yeah.
moment, it's still full of small initiatives that need to be understood by the market as well.
So I just want to walk through a an imaginary scenario with you. So we're in yeah, I don't know, the year 2030, and IoT is everywhere. How do you see the interconnectivity between IoT, UX, social design, product design, business, and the metaverse? So, you know, I think it's
How will
easy.
everything function?
It's easy for me to visualize the matrix, for example, where
Yeah.
we're hooked up. If you think of Neuralink, you're hooked up to Neuralink, and you're in a game, and you've forgotten that you're in the game, and now you're interacting with all of these devices, thinking that, yeah, I don't know, like it's like your real
So,
environment.
so,
So
so
it's
I
your
have a, I
virtual.
have a, I have a thing against the metaverse. I don't like it, and I don't like it because of the solidity of the experience.
Hmm.
I do believe that sensors will be, and they are already everywhere, and they will be everywhere, and they will help us so much to reduce waste, to reduce time spent at useless stuff, um, and provide a lot more insight in the effect that we have on this world.
Hmm.
If you do, one of the main examples of the privacy, so you have all these sensors and they can really see how many people are in a space, which if you want to use it in a bad way is horrifying to think what you could do with all those things. But at the same time, if you do cooling and if you do lighting based on the amount of people that you have around and what these people are doing, these are amazing experiences
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
facilitate.
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. It was around about 2013, and I applied with this company called Layar, and they
Yeah,
were
I know
going
them.
to, yeah, and I was so mesmerized, and if you look at how simple how simple it is to create certain things today, which would take, yeah, five professionals a whole month to complete now takes like an hour. If you look at CMSs and all of this, basically things pre-made and templates and all of that. So
Mhm.
I think, for us as designers, it's really important to start defining the boundaries and creating that design governance that, we stick to certain moral obligations and rules when designing these products because I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
I fully agree. But there's a sort of the need for awareness amongst designers of the power that they have, and and rules from the United Nations
yeah,
or
well,
something.
yeah, well, I mean, I think trusting bodies which grow in very self-contained bubbles is not as good as charging the people, the ones making up the industry, So I think we should have like communication with each other and, envision what is respectable in our industries and then sort of, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I
that
guess
gives
what
a lot of responsibility to people, and you just said yourself
the thing
that
is that
that's not the best
we
ones
have
to
that
trust for.
responsibility. We do have that responsibility. And it it impacts us not just today but in the future as well because I mean, can you imagine we're aging now and now we're old 80-year-old people and we wanted to make a quick buck in our 30s and 40s and all these kids grew up impoverished. Are they going to look after us? We're going to be like struggling old people. So I think it's
Well, I
good to
think
be responsible.
that there's a generation ahead of us. How do you say that? Yeah, who did exactly that.
Yeah, but they had less power. I mean, if, the,
They
the,
finalized almost all the goods.
I mean, you just showcased a lot of capability and a lot of power and, you know, applied
I
in the
would
way
say
you.
potential because it's not there yet. It's all implementation. If you want to have smart parking spaces, you need to put smart parking sensors on all the spaces. That's a heap of work. That's not done yet.
Well, but
That it's
why not?
possible. It
Okay.
doesn't mean that it works.
Yeah. Well, I think, this is a very powerful tool,
Yeah.
the IoT or tools or capabilities, let's say capabilities. And I think, we should be like what Peter Parker and
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
but yeah, do you find a lot of these opportunities and how do you go about finding them? Do you also create them? Like,
Yes. Yes and yes. I get onboarded in projects where there's questions. Okay, how could we find more opportunities? How can we use uh, yeah, how can we use the possibilities to our advantage? There's so many things are possible. The whole organization, everybody has ideas, but nobody's listening. What do we need to do, and who's right? And there's a sort of an adventure or a fox hunt to go into organizations to figure out, okay, how does this organization work? Who, how does the structure of this organization enable something?
hmm
Because outside of all these fantastic new possibilities, it needs to be used by people.
yeah, yeah,
And if
that's
you have a thing that upends a process from beginning to the end, I still love the example of smart cleaning carts.
mm,
There was this huge company, cleaning company, with offices or locations all over the world, and they were thinking about smart carts, and that
mhm,
smart cart would tell the people where they would need to clean.
Oh,
Fantastic plan. But then you have somewhere in the middle of nowhere a hotel that gets serviced by this company. And there's a cleaning lady that has been doing her work for 20 years. She gets a new card, and then this card tells her you have to go to that toilet. That's weird.
yeah,
That's not a nice interaction to have.
yeah. You know what really sucks in my neighborhood? I pay taxes, gemeentetax. I've always paid gemeentetax. It's never gotten any cheaper. It's increased.
Mhm.
But now on our garbage containers, we have to pay with a card. So we pay
Mhm.
per transaction as well. So the thing is like, you
Does
know,
it
it's
weigh the trash?
no, it's you pay per throwaway.
Oh
But
shit.
probably it weighs. I don't know. But the point is like it got more expensive. I'm paying the belasting.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I've got to pay more. So knowing and I've been rigged by the Belastingdienst and the gemeente, and let's
Mhm.
face it, they know how to make a buck. Um, what if all of our devices and all of our environment is like that? So that's sort of like the fears that I have, and that I think, we should really, as professionals, do the governance and say this is not professional. If you are active in this and you do this, you're cut out. And yeah, I don't know, I think design governance is a really needed topic, because the human connection is
So
vital.
yes, if you talk in the but there is governance rules. We have the 17 rules of the UN. If every design project incorporates those rules, the world will look better.
Well, I've you know I don't know.
And then you can use everything for bad, but don't. And if you
Yeah,
see it, try to change it or tell people about it.
yeah, yeah,
And for the rest, if you're one of the people that's able to design things or that has a possibility to bring new to the world, uh, also try to make that possible for the other people.
yeah.
The most impactful stories that I've been able to create within organizations is this idea was from that guy
Mm-hmm.
and he
Yeah,
had it all along.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm just there to listen
exactly. Well, that's the thing,
and tell
like,
it to the right people. But then the role that I have as a sort of translator of design or translator of ideas is far more of a to create a uh, yeah to create a place for those stories.
hmm yeah. Well, that's pretty interesting. I think, yeah, I have a lot. My mind is racing, and definitely, I think your your presentation hits on so many levels. I don't know how much time we have
Yeah, no worries.
left, but yeah, it's
Always happy to have the conversation. And I know from earlier conversations that we are in the game a little bit differently.
yeah.
As in, I like to believe that people are doing stuff for the better. So one of the initiative of the Anna Box is there a fantastic one. These are guys that are really sort of probably they have an experience in their life that needed this solution,
Yeah,
and they're trying to make it and solving it.
yeah,
And that's
exactly.
sure you can do bad things with the data.
Hmm
Should you
Yeah.
not invent it?
I mean, I'm sure you're aware of all the data concerns these days, and
If you can prove that you're using the data for the advantage of the user, and if you made the user aware that you're using the data and you make sure that you can delete the data, you're allowed.
yeah. But it's also like learnings from the data, which, yeah, I mean, you can throw away the data once you have the learnings, and then apply those learnings in the future. And I think, yeah. But yeah, data is super important, and I think IoT is probably going to be the mobile of the future. So I
I,
think
I
anybody.
think whenever we talk about Internet of Things, we are always talking to technicians, to designers, and to engineers.
Hmm.
If we have Internet of Things solutions in the market, it's no longer an Internet of thing. It's just the thing that's handy. It's your smartwatch.
Yeah,
It's the parking spot that tells me that it's free.
yeah,
That's not IoT. That's a smart parking spot.
yeah. Okay.
So I
So
think that the technical terms will move out whenever we have successful inventions.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And well, my question is like, will there be sort of agencies who just work in IoT, and what is the UX professional's role in those agencies if they do start to pop up?
So I have not seen agencies that really dive into this market as designers because it's still very much in the engineering field,
Okay.
and engineers are designers, but they're a different type of designers. And until they connect with designers, what you call UX designers or what you call the interface designers. Sometimes it happens if you have these big projects at an energy company where you have this call center where there's all these people. Where that's the moment where there's a visionary leader that says, "Okay, we need to have design here,"
Hmm.
and you're spending money that that's really an investment because design is an investment into
Yeah,
on top of hardware.
exactly, exactly. Wow,
So
very interesting.
I didn't see it yet. I think that there's a lot to learn also in all these different experiences because every stakeholder has its own interface and its own goals and its own sort of, yeah, what do you need to do with the data? Why do you need to know how many beers somebody used?
Yeah.
Should you know?
Well, depends.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
if you're the doctor, you should maybe.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. But that's where the governance comes in. That's how you harness the power instead of, force as a force for evil, as a force for good. It's just like, yeah, I think designers typically have a lot, yeah, not just designers, anybody who really does market research and studies a bit of behavioral science. And I think, marketing, PR, advertising, any creative discipline really forms part of that collective. You do see various things interconnect, and yeah, yeah, which an engineer I think might not be as aware of, because I think engineering is a little bit more apart. Would you say, like, it is a creative industry, but I don't know if engineers work as, maybe they do.
You have a very different way of framing the problem and going to the solution. The constraints are completely different, but
Yeah,
it's a creative process.
yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, um,
We
when
can
you're
we
when
can
you're
quickly we can quickly make a drawing on a screen and click it together, and it looks like if it works.
Mhm.
That doesn't work with a
Yeah, exactly,
NAS state or something.
exactly. But for the engineer, it's like the focus is on the actual product or the actual thing, and while it's with the creative industries, the focus is typically on the person. So I think, it's a good marriage. I think, I don't know,
Yeah,
if I were to start an agency for the sake of starting an agency today, I think that one that offers IoT services might be an option. It's like when I studied multimedia, there were no web design agencies, and
yeah.
then it just took over. So I think that's sort of like,
Maybe it's what's coming. Who knows?
yeah. Well, I think, yeah, there might be a lot of jobs for us there, and it is one.
it's one that's gonna make a humongous impact, and it really needs a different type of
Yeah.
designer because you need to be able to think about so much more than only, hey, I have a screen. Somebody is using that screen at a location with devices around that can interact, and there's a wealth of experience to create,
Mm.
and
And
that's
then
very.
say now you are reaching a stage where you are a designer, where you have all of these considerations that you need to adhere to, and you now have to have responsibility for that. Earlier, you said, "Oh, that's responsibility." You know, we don't like responsibility. So, having to consider more as designers, do you think that's something which might make designers say, "Well, I'm not really interested in IoT"?
Oh no, 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 no. I think that there's a lack of education on the topic. I think that there's a lot of people that don't know that this exists and is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sort of the Anna box is the very first example of a UX experience that is enhanced by connectivity, by the
Mm-hmm.
use of this technology. You can do something different in the onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that sort of to make that step, you have to be able to connect those two dots. For those
Mm-hmm.
two dots, you need all that information and all
Yeah.
or you need to meet the people that have the organization. And where that happens, I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
Here, maybe.
And well, do you offer any training in that, or is there anywhere that people can sort of go to learn more about IoT and get involved in the industry?
I would always go to iotcreators.com. They have a super insightful overview of how you can start, what you need to order to make your first connected thing.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's always a team effort. If you're only a designer, you need to have somebody that does coding on the interface, that does coding on the Arduino. You need to have somebody that optimizes the processes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much, Jeroen. It was great having you on the in the event. It's not a show,
yes.
but and thank you for your time. And it's a pity nobody joined. I hope everything went all right in the live stream.
Uh-huh.
Um,
We're
and
gonna
I
see.
will,
There were some signups on the LinkedIn, so maybe
yeah.
it
Well,
will be.
it's also
We recorded anyway.
it's the first meetup. So the first one is always a little bit people.
Yeah.
Yeah, people want to see before they join. So I mean, I think yeah, online the thing is we've had less people join, but it's the one event that was requested because people do watch it back and they like to
Oh,
have
yeah.
these learning sessions and also learn who in the Randstad is offering what and
So,
um so yeah, I think not a total waste.
gonna see. I'm curious. There were some people that clicked on the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye. And bye to everyone watching.